there! Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a parent, you probably already know the totally exhausting reality of daily negotiations. You lay out a super basic, everyday rule like, I don't know, brushing teeth, and suddenly, bam, you're locked in a high-stakes standoff worthy of the UN. Trust me, it happens to the absolute best of us. So today, we're unpacking exactly why this happens, the hidden traps of those quick crisis time deals we all make, and how we can actually reclaim our family routines using insights pulled directly from developmental research. We're going to look really closely at how to create predictable structure without losing an ounce of your warmth.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this super familiar bedtime standoff. It's late, you've already said the tablet is finished for the night, but your child just refuses to move. The protest is growing, you're exhausted, the clock is ticking, and tomorrow comes early, right? So you make a crisis deal. The tablet is handed over, the room goes wonderfully quiet, and for a brief second, you feel like a brilliant negotiator. But here's the trap. You might be accidentally teaching your kid that your first instruction is really nothing more than an opening offer. I've gently got to ask you to consider this question. Bargaining to dodge a 40-minute screaming match? That is completely understandable. You just want to survive real life. Getting out the door for school, finishing up homework, or shutting down a screen. A quick deal just feels kinder and way faster. But the real risk creeps in when we repeatedly turn our boundaries into an escalating auction system. The boundary hasn't vanished, but the price of cooperation, it just keeps going up.
Section 1. Bribe, planned reward, or choice. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it defines the blurry lines between the parenting tools we use. People throw the word bribe around pretty loosely, but there is a massive practical difference between a bribe, a planned reward, and a genuine choice. Let's look at the timing here. A crisis time bribe is almost always invented after the resistance begins. Its literally only purpose is to make the conflict disappear right then and there. A planned reward, on the flip side, is set up before the situation even starts. The expected behavior is clear, the reward is known in advance, it's realistic for the child to succeed, and, this is key, you have a solid plan to gradually phase that reward out once the skill is actually learned.
Now, compare that planned reward to offering a real choice. A real choice gives your child a genuine sense of autonomy and control inside a firm boundary, but without putting the boundary itself up for sale. For example, instead of paying them to leave the park, you might say, okay, it's time to leave the park. Do you want to walk to the car or race me to the gate? The child gets to choose how to cooperate. But leaving the park? That's simply not on the table for negotiation.
Section 2. The science of boundaries.
I really want to reassure you here, holding a firm line absolutely does not mean you're being cold, harsh, or rigid. In fact, developmental studies, including research specifically looking at 7th and 8th graders, make a huge distinction between providing structure and using psychological control. True structure provides really clear expectations, understandable reasons, and entirely respects the child's feelings. You can totally be firm about bedtime without being cruel. Harsh psychological control, though, is when a parent withdraws affection or pressures a child's sense of worth, saying stuff like, a good child wouldn't upset me like this. You can hold the line while still being an incredibly loving parent. Let's see how this builds across major scientific reviews. A massive meta-analysis by Kaminsky and colleagues showed that effective parenting really relies on a package deal of warmth, clarity, and consistent follow-through. Leichen's research highlights the absolute power of positive reinforcement and natural consequences over just bargaining. And crucially, research into ADHD parent training shows we really need to prepare our expectations before the conflict peaks. If we don't, we risk falling into what researchers call coercive family patterns, where the kid's opposition and the adult giving in basically shape each other into worse behavior over time. It's a tough cycle.
Section 3. Common boundary mistakes.
Armed with that science, let's walk through some super relatable traps we all fall into when we're just trying to keep the peace. The big takeaway here is that unpredictability actually increases a child's drive to test the limits. Our first really common mistake is inventing the reward after saying no. Imagine you're in the grocery checkout line. Your kid asks for a toy, you say no, they throw a massive fit, and in a panic you say, okay, if you stop asking, I'll get you ice cream. What the child actually learns is that accepting your first answer gets them absolutely nothing, while resisting, well, that creates a brand new, delicious opportunity. The rule just shouldn't be invented in the checkout line. The second big mistake is raising the offer. You start by offering one sticker, right? But when they push back, suddenly it becomes 3. 10 minutes of screen time magically becomes an hour. You are essentially competing with your own boundary. Now, if a task is genuinely too difficult for the child, totally review it later. But right there, during the conflict, Don't turn every instruction into an escalating debate where the prize just keeps growing the longer they hold out.
Let's see how these approaches actually differ during something like homework. A crisis deal sounds kind of desperate. Just finish this math page and I'll give you 20 bucks. The healthier approach puts the non-negotiable part first, but offers a genuine option before the task even starts. Homework starts after smack. Do you want me nearby for the first 5 minutes, or would you rather begin alone? Offering a choice changes the path they take, not the final destination. Section 4. The limit plan.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can actually replace those crisis deals systematically. Let me introduce you to the limit plan. It's a proactive, crystal-clear framework designed to stop the auction right in its tracks. L is for lay out the rule early. State those expectations before the predictable trigger. I's include a real choice. Give them two completely acceptable paths. M is maintain the core answer. Use way fewer words and absolutely do not increase the offer just because the resistance lasts. I is identified a feeling, name their disappointment, and teach a useful response. And T is track and fade support. If you do use a planned reward, measure it and reduce it gradually as the new routines take over.
Section 5. 7-day boundary reset. Look, if you're feeling overwhelmed, please don't try to fix everything at once. Let's look at a really actionable, chronological plan for exhausted parents looking to change the dynamic right now. I highly encourage you to pick just one rule. Seriously, not your whole family dynamic, just one single repeated situation. Tell your child the boundary during a calm moment, maybe over breakfast. Then for 7 days, hold the line. Do not create a larger reward after the resistance begins. Keep your empathy, for sure, but don't up the ante. At the end of the week, sit back and evaluate. Was the rule clear? Was it actually realistic for their age? And were you, as the adult, consistent?
Section 6. Useful parent phrases. To help you get through those 7 days, here's a wonderfully warm, practical script pulled directly from the source material. You can use this in the heat of the moment without losing your cool. Just deliver this phrase as calmly as you can. I am not making a new deal during the argument. You can totally validate their disappointment. You can say, you can be disappointed, and I will stay calm with you. But the core answer does not change. By doing this, you're proving to them that they don't need to earn your warmth, and that the limit and your deep care for them can exist together at the exact same time.
Section 7. The scientific balance. Now, we've got to ensure we maintain our scientific nuance here. This explainer is definitely not about banning every single reward or refusing all forms of negotiation. Family rules can totally be flexible, and we aren't demanding rigid, thoughtless obedience. It's so essential to recognize when planned rewards actively help. Kids with attention issues, developmental, communication, sensory, learning, trauma-related, or mental health needs might legitimately require visual supports and highly individualized reinforcement. A short, planned system can be amazing for teaching a difficult transition or safety behavior. But remember, this is completely different from crisis bargaining because the child knows the rule beforehand and the support doesn't mysteriously grow just because they protest.
So, the crucial point is this. Our ultimate goal is predictable structure, not an endless negotiation. Clear structure tells a child what is happening, while your autonomy support tells them their feelings still matter inside that plan. So I want to leave you with this empowering question. What is one rule you can choose today, stay early, and offer one real choice for without creating a bigger offer during their protest? Take that step and start reclaiming your family's boundaries today.